Hello and welcome to FD, where today we've made a team of players you think are good, but are actually a hot sack of garbage. Take a guess, who wrote this one? Goalkeeper, Jasper Cillessen. How can a club as big and wealthy as Barcelona get so many transfers wrong? The Catalans can add Jasper Cillessen to Chiellini, Song and Vermaelen on the list of things which seemed like a good idea at the time, but turned out terribly. Signed in 2016, Cillessen was already 27 and had no other suitors, which should have been an immediate red flag. But Barca pressed on, and the Dutchman ended up playing just 180 minutes for the Blaugrana in the League and Champions League. The same number as he played for Ajax, the club he left after 2 games into the season. 3 times an Eredivisie champ and twice named Ajax Player of the Year, it's amazing that the stopper's reputation was allowed to get so out of control. Now it seems like he'll swap one red and blue stripe for another, with former boss Frank de Boer considering taking the Barca misfit to Crystal Palace. Defender, Seamus Coleman. It's tough to pinpoint where people started overrating Seamus Coleman, but it might have something to do with the 6 league goals in 2013-14. The Irishman had always been quick, but now he was seen as a goal threat, a label which has stuck despite a total of 8 goals in the following 3 years. With an inflated rep came an inflated price tag, and Man United even had a £20 million offer for the defender knocked back in 2015. A fee which would have made him one of the 5 most expensive fullbacks of all time. United were rumoured to be interested in 2017 too, despite Coleman's horrific leg break while on international duty, but Everton handed the 28-year-old a bumper new contract, which will last until he's 33. Seems like a great idea. Defender, Sergio Ramos. On retiring in 2009, Paolo Maldini, arguably the greatest defender ever, was asked who he thought could match his achievements. He picked Sergio Ramos, who, like him, had played as a fullback and centre-back, and at 23 already had 2 league titles and a European Championship to his name. Yes, Ramos has an incredible trophy cabinet and a genuinely amazing goal-scoring record, but he remains a haphazard and reckless defender. The Spaniard has 22 career red cards and made a dick of himself in the 2 biggest games of Real Madrid's season last year. First getting sent off against Barcelona and then feigning an injury to get Juan Cuadrado dismissed in the Champions League final. In the end, Ramos will be remembered as a good defender and a winner, but far from an all-time great, as some Madristas would have you believe. Defender, Giorgio Chiellini. Chances are, if you play FIFA, you think Giorgio Chiellini is the best centre-back in Italy. According to EA, Chiellini is the 5th best defender in the world, behind only Boateng, Thiago Silva, Pepe and Sergio Ramos. The big man is undeniably a quality player, but to put him above teammates Bonucci and Barzagli is lunacy. Bonucci is one of the best long passers in the game, meaning that Juventus were able to lose Andrea Pirlo without missing a trick, and has committed under a foul per game over the last 4 years, while Chiellini is a free kick factory, giving away 1.3 a match. Meanwhile, Barzagli has been in the Serie A team of the season 4 times in 5 years, and remains top class at the age of 36. Being the least talented member of Juve's back line is no shame, but let's give Chiellini's colleagues the credit they deserve. Defender, Jordi Alba. Winner of Euro 2012, 3 league titles and 1 Champions League, Jordi Alba has a great CV, and it's easy to assume he's amazing, having been signed for Barca by Tito Vilanova and taking over from the iconic Eric Abidal. What he actually is very fast. The tiny Spaniard loves to join the attack and picked up 6 assists in the Liga last season, but so did Sergi Roberto, a converted midfielder who Barca want to replace. Even worse, Alba made fewer tackles and interceptions than Roberto, committing more fouls per game and probably would have lost his place if it weren't for Lucas Digne's complete lack of talent. Still, he's 28 now, so if you want to find out just how much defensive intelligence he has once his pace goes, stay tuned. Midfielder, William Carvalho. In 2013, Sporting Lisbon claimed Arsenal were desperate to sign William Carvalho. A year on, they said it again. The same happened the summer after. It's almost like the Portuguese bruiser isn't actually any good, and Sporting are trying to drum up interest in a player no one wants to buy. Okay, so maybe that's a little harsh. Carvalho is a decent distributor, with an 88% pass accuracy, and for a man with the turning circle of the moon, his 2.9 tackles interceptions per game isn't horrendous. However, it's barely more than Cesc Fabregas on 2.7, hardly a defensive powerhouse. And with 2 goals and 3 assists, William isn't threatening at the other end either. Now, despite the signing of Granit Xhaka, the Gunners are once again being linked with the lanky cart horse, along with Man City and the rather more plausible Crystal Palace. At 25, perhaps it's time to settle for Selhurst Park. Midfielder, Francis Coquelin. Francis Coquelin is often praised for his commitment and passion, which is a good sign that there's nothing else to praise him for. Admittedly, a role in Arsenal's sieve of a midfield is no help for the Frenchman, but Coquelin's horrendous touch stands out among the Emirates' cultured stars. He does go through a huge amount of defensive work, putting up 5 tackles and interceptions per game, putting him among the top 10 Premier League midfielders. But that ignores the misplaced passes and the poor technique which sees him lose the ball 1.4 times a game, as many as El Neni and Xhaka put together. He's basically the rich man's Matthew Flamini, and his career highlight is probably the time that Eden Hazard turned him into the world's tallest Beyblade during Arsenal's 3-1 loss to Chelsea last season. Time for us to admit that Coq is utter balls. Midfielder, Ross Barkley. We're constantly told that Everton can't sign attacking midfielders as they'd block Ross Barkley's development. But the Liverpool native is now 23 and still hasn't had a breakout season. Last year he got 5 goals and 8 assists in the Prem, which looks decent until you realise that Matt Phillips got 4 goals and 8 assists for West Brom, despite playing 8 games fewer. Though he's barely good enough for mid-table, the Toffees have still slapped a £50 million price tag on the midfielder, and Spurs remain interested, perhaps facing Barkley for the coveted headless chicken impact sub-role currently filled by Moussa Sissoko. Everton have even offered Barkley £100k a week to remain at Goodison. To put that in perspective, it would be more than every Serie A player except for De Rossi and Higuain, and roughly the same as Juve paid Dybala and Alexandro put together. Forward, Wilfried Zaha. No one stockpiles wingers with no end product like Crystal Palace. Townsend, Punchin and Wilf Zaha have all had their time scaling up unsuspecting fullbacks before shanking a shot into the cheap seats from 30 yards out. But he scored 7 and assisted 9 last year, you might be saying. Well, the Ivorian created under 1 chance a game for a total of 29 in the league, meaning that 31% of chances he made got turned into goals. That's insanely high and unlikely to continue next year. By comparison, Paul Pogba produced nearly twice as many scoring opportunities, but his teammates could only find the net 4 times. Zaha got lucky, Pogba didn't. Undeniably a great dribbler, only Adama Traore and Soufiane Boufal completed more take-ons in the Prem. Zaha still has very little end product, and at 24 he's unlikely to turn into Iron Robin tomorrow. Forward, Jermaine Defoe. Patrick Van Straten's favourite player now, and look, we're not saying he's always been a bad player, but according to the British press, Jermaine Defoe is up there with Inzaghi as one of the modern game's greatest poachers. In Sunderland's disastrous campaign, Defoe largely escaped criticism, and even returned to the England national setup. But though he nabbed 15 league goals, 5 of those came from the penalty spot. Given that 80% of pens find the net whoever takes them, it's hard to believe that the Black Cats couldn't find someone else to scrape into double figures, especially as Troy Deeney and Sam Vokes hit 10 in the Prem. West Ham even made a £6 million January bid for the forward, meaning the Black Cats could have got his huge 80k a week wages off the books and prepared for a season in the Championship. Instead, they lost him for a free, where Eddie Howe added Defoe to his Brexit Bournemouth, handing the pensioner a whopping 3-year £10 million deal. We can't possibly imagine what could go wrong. Forward, Carlos Bacca. Though AC Milan managed to finish 6th place last season, the Rossoneri were outscored by 9 other teams in Serie A, and that's down to Colombia's Carlos Bacca. Bought for €30 million 2 months before his 29th birthday, Bacca hit just 13 goals in the 2016-17 season, his worst run since 2009, where he was still in his homeland. That's just one more than Marek Hamsik, and with Bacca only laying on 3 assists, it means he was involved in fewer goals than Christian Benteke at relegation-threatened Crystal Palace. But that hasn't put off Europe's dumbest clubs, Marseille and West Ham, who want to buy the now 30-year-old, rather than doing something productive like burying a pile of money in the ground. But even worse is the fact that Bacca was named the best South American in La Liga back in 2014. He took home the award over, get this, Messi, Neymar, Di Maria and Marcelo. Figure that one out. I'm dumbfounded.
So what did you think to our list? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other content by clicking on screen. And as ever, please do like and subscribe.